9. Magnesium Rich Foods that heal your body instantly. Have you woken up with your calf locked in a cramp so tight it took your breath away? Do your knees crack and complain before you've even made it out of bed? Do you feel exhausted by mid-afternoon, even after a full night's sleep? Wondering why your body feels like it's working against you? In my years working alongside patients and studying nutrition, I've seen this pattern again and again, and it almost always traces back to one missing mineral. Not rare, not expensive, just quietly disappearing from our daily meals for decades. Research suggests nearly half of adults over 50 fall short on this mineral, and when it runs low, the body doesn't scream, it whispers through cramps, restless nights, and joints that feel older than they should. Today, I'll walk you through the 9 foods that bring it back. Before we start, which of these feelings hit closest to home for you? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. Let's get into it. Number 9, bananas. I hear this one all the time from patients who are watching their blood sugar. They tell me they cut out bananas because they assume it's just sugar wrapped in a peel, and I understand the worry, but that assumption isn't quite fair to the fruit. A medium banana carries around 30 to 35 milligrams of magnesium, along with potassium and vitamin B6, and research on electrolyte balance has consistently shown that magnesium and potassium behave as partners in the body, not solo players, when it comes to keeping muscles from cramping in the middle of the night and nerves from misfiring during the day. That's actually the exact combination doctors look at when someone comes in complaining of leg cramps that wake them up at 2 in the morning. The natural sugar in a whole banana also comes bundled with fiber, and that fiber slows down how quickly the sugar hits your bloodstream. So eating a whole banana behaves very differently in your body than a spoonful of table sugar or a glass of juice ever could. If you want the most benefit and the gentlest effect on blood sugar, choose a banana that still has a few green patches near the stem rather than one that's fully speckled with brown spots, because the fiber structure holds up better at that stage. Pair it with a small handful of almonds or a spoonful of nut butter in the late morning, and you've got a mineral and protein combination that keeps energy steady until lunch instead of the crash so many people feel an hour after eating fruit alone. I've also had patients tell me they cut fruit entirely after a doctor mentioned watching their sugar intake. And while that caution makes sense with juice, dried fruit, or sweetened snacks, it usually doesn't need to extend to a single piece of whole fruit eaten with a meal. Context changes everything. Here, a banana eaten alone on an empty stomach behaves differently than one eaten alongside protein and fat, which is exactly why pairing matters as much as the food itself. And if you've noticed leg cramps specifically at night, a banana in the evening along with your dinner may be a more useful timing choice than one in the morning, since the muscle relaxing benefits of its minerals tend to matter most in the hours before sleep. Number 8, potatoes with the skin left on. For years, potatoes got blamed for weight gain and blood sugar trouble. And I understand why most of us grew up hearing that potatoes were something to limit. But that blame belongs to how we've been preparing them, not to the potato itself. A medium potato with the skin on provides around 40 to 50 milligrams of magnesium, and most of that mineral density sits right in the skin that so many of us were taught to peel away and throw in the trash. When you peel a potato, you're not just removing texture, you're removing a meaningful part of its nutrition. There's also something called resistant starch that forms when you cook a potato and then let it cool down. And research on gut health has shown that this resistant starch acts almost like fiber, feeding the beneficial bacteria in your digestive tract, which in turn appears to support how efficiently your body absorbs minerals, including magnesium, from the rest of what you eat. So the potato was never really the enemy. The deep fryer, the excess salt, and the mountain of sour cream were. Bake it whole with the skin on, let the skin get slightly crisp in the oven, and season it simply with a little olive oil, salt, and herbs. If you have leftovers, cool them in the refrigerator overnight and eat them cold in a salad or reheated the next day, since that cooling step actually increases the resistant starch content even further, giving you more of the benefit than eating it fresh and hot. It's also worth mentioning that potatoes carry meaningful potassium alongside their magnesium, and this pairing supports the same blood pressure and muscle function benefits we'll talk about again with avocado later in this list. Try roasting a whole tray of small potatoes with the skin on at the start of the week, then keep them in the fridge so you always have a ready-made mineral-rich side dish within reach instead of reaching for something processed out of convenience. Just make sure to scrub the skin well before cooking and choose potatoes that look firm and free of green tinting, since that green coloring signals a compound you'll want to avoid, and any sprouting eyes should be trimmed away before roasting for the same reason. Number 7, spinach. Most people either eat it raw in a small side salad and call it a health win, or they skip it entirely because it seems bland. And honestly, both approaches waste its real potential. A half cup of cooked spinach delivers around 75 to 80 milligrams of magnesium, which is a significant jump from what you'd get eating it raw, simply because cooking collapses a huge pile of leaves down into a small, concentrated serving. Spinach also contains a compound called oxalic acid, which can bind to minerals like magnesium and calcium and make them harder for your body to actually absorb, and gentle heat helps reduce that binding effect. This is one of the reasons a warm sauté tends to work better for mineral absorption than a giant cold salad eaten every single day. Just because a food contains a mineral on paper doesn't mean your body receives all of it. Preparation genuinely changes the outcome. Cook it gently with a little olive oil and garlic until it just wilts down, and fold it into eggs, stir it into soup, or serve it alongside a protein at dinner. The fat from the olive oil also helps your body absorb the fat, soluble nutrients spinach carries alongside its magnesium, so resist the urge to cook it completely dry or steam it with nothing at all. Frozen spinach is a perfectly reasonable option too, and in some cases it's actually more nutrient dense than fresh spinach that's traveled a long distance and sat on a shelf for days, since freezing tends to lock in nutrients close to the point of harvest. Keep a bag in the freezer and toss a handful into whatever you're already cooking, soup, eggs, pasta sauce, or a stir fry, so it becomes a background habit rather than a separate dish you have to remember to make. If you're on blood thinning medication, it's worth having a conversation with your doctor about your typical greens intake, since the vitamin K in spinach can interact with certain prescriptions, and consistency of intake matters more than avoidance in most of these cases. Number 6, black beans. Beans have carried an old stigma for generations, something you eat when money is tight, not something you choose for your health. I've heard that exact sentiment from patients more times than I can count. But look closer and you'll find one of the most complete mineral and fiber packages sitting quietly in the pantry. A half cup of cooked black beans provides around 50 to 60 milligrams of magnesium, plus potassium, iron, and slow digesting carbohydrates that don't spike blood sugar the way refined starches do. Their fiber also feeds the beneficial bacteria living in your gut, and those bacteria produce compounds called short-chain fatty acids, which researchers studying digestive health have found help maintain the lining of your intestines, and that lining plays a direct role in how well your body actually absorbs minerals like magnesium from everything you eat, not just the beans themselves. In other words, black beans may help your whole digestive system become better at receiving nutrition, not just deliver a number on a nutrition label. If you're using dried beans, soak them overnight before cooking. This reduces the compounds that can cause digestive discomfort and makes the remaining nutrients more available to your body. Add them to soups, rice bowls, or simply season them slowly with garlic, onion, and cumin, and you'll have an easy staple you can lean on every week without much effort. If soaking dried beans feels like too much of a commitment on a busy week, canned black beans are a completely reasonable substitute. Just rinse them thoroughly under running water before using them, since this simple step washes away a good portion of the added sodium found in most canned varieties. A half cup a few times a week is enough to make a real difference. You don't need to eat beans at every meal to see the benefit. Consistency over time matters far more than any single serving. If beans have caused digestive discomfort for you in the past, introducing them slowly, starting with smaller portions and increasing gradually over several weeks, often allows your gut to adjust far more comfortably than jumping straight into a large serving. Number 5, almonds. There's a myth that's followed nuts around for decades. The idea that they're just fat and calories, something to eat sparingly if at all, or avoid completely if you're trying to manage your weight. But an ounce of almonds, about a small handful, gives you 75 to 80 milligrams of magnesium along with vitamin E, monounsaturated fat, the same type of fat that long-term dietary studies have consistently associated with better heart health outcomes, not worse ones. Magnesium in almonds also plays a direct role in how your body manages insulin signaling, the process that controls how well your cells respond to blood sugar, and several nutrition studies have linked regular nut consumption to better blood sugar stability over time rather than the weight gain people fear. The key word here is handful, not bowl. A good food eaten in excess stops behaving like a good food. Choose raw or dry roasted almonds without added oils or heavy salt, since the coating on flavored almonds usually cancels out much of the benefit. If you soak them overnight in water, Some people find they digest more comfortably and the minerals become slightly more available once the outer skin softens. Keep a small container of them at your desk, in your car, or in your bag, because reaching for almonds only works as a habit if they're easier to grab than the chips sitting in the pantry. Be mindful of the almond-based products that have flooded grocery shelves in recent years. Almond flour, almond milk, almond-flavored everything, since turning one good food into every single item on your plate isn't the same thing as eating a varied, balanced diet. The whole almond, eaten in its simplest form, remains the version your body knows best how to use. And if you wear dentures or have concerns about chewing whole nuts comfortably, almond butter spread thinly on a piece of fruit or whole grain toast delivers much of the same mineral benefit without the crunch. Number 4, avocado. Avocados spent years being feared simply because they're high in fat, back when we were all taught that any fat on a plate was the enemy of a healthy heart. That advice has aged badly, and one avocado actually delivers 50 to 60 milligrams of magnesium, pairing it with a strong dose of potassium at the same time. This pairing matters more than most people realize because magnesium helps blood vessels relax, while potassium helps balance out sodium's effect on blood pressure. And cardiovascular research looking at these two minerals together has shown this combination supports healthier blood pressure regulation over the long term, not the opposite. The fat in avocado isn't something to fear either. It's actually what allows your body to absorb the fat-soluble vitamins carried in the rest of your meal, vitamins A, D, E, and K, which pass right through your system unused if there's no fat present to carry them. Add avocado to a salad, mash it onto whole grain toast, or simply eat it with a little salt and a squeeze of lime. Pairing it with beans or eggs at the same meal helps your body use the nutrients from all three foods more effectively than eating any one of them alone. A common concern I hear is portion size, since a whole avocado does carry a meaningful number of calories, and the honest answer is that half an avocado at a meal is usually plenty. For most people, there's no need to eat a whole one in a single sitting to get the mineral benefit. Keep the pit and the unused half, wrap it tightly, and refrigerate it. This small trick slows down browning, so you're not wasting the other half before you get to use it. Choosing an avocado that yields gently to light pressure near the stem, without feeling mushy underneath, is usually your best sign that it's ready to eat that day rather than one that needs a few more days on the counter. Number 3, chia seeds. These tiny seeds get dismissed as a trendy smoothie topping that showed up in the last decade, but their history actually goes back centuries as an endurance food carried by people who needed sustained energy across long distances on foot. Just 1 ounce, about 2 tablespoons, provides over 100 milligrams of magnesium, along with fiber, plant protein, and omega-3 fatty acids that most people don't get nearly enough of. What makes chia genuinely interesting isn't only the number on the label, it's how the seed behaves once it's in your body. When chia meets liquid, it forms a gel, and that gel slows down digestion, which means the nutrients release more gradually instead of all at once, giving your body more time to actually absorb the magnesium rather than losing much of it to a fast trip through the digestive tract. That slow release also matters for blood sugar, since it prevents the sharp spikes that come from foods that digest quickly. Soak 2 tablespoons in water, milk, or yogurt overnight in the refrigerator, and you'll have a ready-to-eat pudding waiting for you by morning with almost no effort involved. Stir it into oatmeal or blend it into a smoothie if pudding isn't your style. Either way, this is one of the easiest, lowest effort magnesium habits you can build into a daily routine, no cooking required. If you're new to chia, start with 1 tablespoon rather than 2, since the fiber content is significant, and introducing it gradually along with plenty of water helps your digestive system adjust comfortably instead of feeling overwhelmed. Once your body is used to it, work your way up to the full 2 tablespoon serving, and you'll likely notice you feel fuller for longer after meals that include it. Whole chia seeds, unlike whole flaxseed, don't need to be ground to release their nutrients, so you can use them straight from the bag without any extra preparation steps standing between you and the benefit. Number 2, pumpkin seeds. Every fall, people carve their pumpkins, scoop these seeds out, and throw them straight in the trash, keeping the decoration and discarding one of the most mineral-dense foods sitting right in their own kitchen. A small handful, about 1 ounce, can contain around 150 milligrams of magnesium, an extraordinary amount for something so small and so often overlooked. Magnesium from pumpkin seeds plays a well-documented role in helping muscles relax after they contract, which is exactly the mechanism behind those nighttime calf cramps so many people over 50 deal with. And it also supports how your nervous system avoids becoming overstimulated, which is part of why so many people notice calmer, deeper sleep when they add a small serving in the evening instead of a snack full of sugar or caffeine. Roast raw pumpkin seeds yourself at home with a light drizzle of olive oil and a pinch of salt. Spread them on a baking sheet and store the finished batch in a jar on the counter where you'll actually see them and reach for them. Sprinkle a spoonful over soup, oatmeal, or salad, or eat a small handful plain as an afternoon snack in place of chips or crackers, and you'll be surprised how satisfying that crunch feels once it becomes a habit instead of an afterthought. If carving your own pumpkin isn't practical, raw pumpkin seeds, sometimes labeled pepitas, are widely available in the bulk section of most grocery stores year-round. So this isn't a food you have to wait for autumn to enjoy. Buy them in smaller quantities and store them somewhere cool, since their natural oils can turn stale faster than you'd expect if they sit too long in a warm pantry. Chewing them thoroughly rather than swallowing them quickly also helps your body extract more of the mineral content, since digestion genuinely begins in the mouth. Number 1, quinoa. The Inca called quinoa the mother of all grains, even though technically it's a seed and not a grain at all. And that distinction actually matters, because its nutritional profile stands apart from most of the starches sitting on your plate. A half-cup cooked provides 55 to 60 milligrams of magnesium, along with all 9 essential amino acids your body needs from food, since it can't manufacture them on its own the way it can with some other nutrients. That combination of complete protein and magnesium in the same food is genuinely significant, because magnesium is required for protein synthesis, the process your body relies on to repair and build muscle tissue, and that becomes even more important as we get older, since the body naturally starts losing muscle mass with age unless we actively work to preserve it through both movement and nutrition. A food that delivers both the mineral and the protein needed for that repair process in one serving is doing double duty. Most single ingredients simply can't manage. Rinse quinoa thoroughly under running water before cooking to remove its natural bitter coating, called saponin. Then cook it the same simple way you would cook rice, roughly 2 parts water to 1 part quinoa. Use it in place of white rice or pasta at dinner, or mix it into a warm bowl together with black beans and avocado for a single meal that brings together several of the foods we've already covered today. Cook a larger batch on the weekend and keep it in the refrigerator for the week ahead, since it reheats well and turns an ordinary weekday lunch into something with real nutritional weight behind it in just a few minutes. Some people find the texture takes a little getting used to at first, if they've eaten white rice their whole life, but most tell me that after a couple of weeks, they genuinely prefer it. Quinoa also comes in red and black varieties alongside the more common white, and while the mineral content stays fairly similar across all 3, mixing them adds visual variety to a plate and can make the transition feel a little more interesting. These 9 foods aren't rare, and they aren't expensive. Pumpkin seeds, chia, spinach, black beans, almonds, avocado, potatoes with the skin on, bananas, and quinoa. That's the whole list. And every one is sitting in a grocery store near you right now. What determines how much good they do isn't eating them once. It's how you prepare them and how consistently you bring them back week after week. Getting older doesn't mean your body has to feel stiff, tired, or out of your control. Small, steady choices add up to real change, and the change is still within your reach, no matter your age. So tell me, which of these foods are you already eating? And which one will you try this week? Drop it in the comments. I read every one. And if this video helped, hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one. I'll see you there. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next videos. I love hearing your thoughts, so please subscribe and let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.